Then, too, many nudists appreciate the practical aspects of clothing optional living with regard to activities like, say, swimming. No need to dig out that swimsuit before heading to the beach or pool. No cold, clammy cloth on your skin after you get out of the water. And no wetsuit to pack when you head home from a vacation. Beyond that, the feel of swimming naked is one that many people don't want to give up once they have experienced it. Here are some reflections from poet Kahlil Gibran on the experience of freedom from clothes. And the weaver said, "Speak to us of clothes." And he answered, "Your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find in them a harness and a chain. Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of your skin and less of your raiment. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is in the wind. Some of you say, it is the north wind who has woven the clothes to wear. But shame was his loom, and the softening of the sinews was his thread. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. Forget not that modesty is for a shield against the eye of the unclean. And when the unclean shall be no more, what were modesty but a fetter and a fouling of the mind? And forget not that earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair." That's the prophet, chapter 10. Before I describe one more setting in which people experience communal nudity, I want to share with you a quote on the relationship of nakedness and shame. I was surprised to find this in the past week or so when I was doing research for this sermon. Sexual modesty cannot then, in any simple way, be identified with the use of clothing, nor shamelessness with the absence of clothing and total or partial nakedness. There are circumstances in which total nakedness is not immodest. Nakedness as such is not to be equated with physical shamelessness. Immodesty is only present when nakedness plays a negative role with regard to the value of the person. The human body is not in itself shameful, nor for the same reasons are sensual reactions and human sensuality in general. Shamelessness, just like shame and modesty, is a function of the interior of the individual. That comes from Cardinal Wojtyla, later to become Pope John Paul II. Yes, it still uses words like shamelessness and immodesty, but I have a feeling he's really talking about things that we understand as well and just have different words for. In any case, it's refreshing to hear a view like this from high up in the Catholic Church. As I said a bit earlier, experiencing nakedness in the right environment can be a significant experience in letting go of shame, negative body images, and other old beliefs that diminish our self-esteem. In whatever way it happens, this kind of change is one we often talk about in the UU world. Simply put, if we indeed covenant to affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, that must necessarily include our own selves. This same kind of awareness is part of the curriculum and processes in many of the personal growth programs offered around the country today. If, as we affirmed a short while ago, love is the spirit of this church and service its call, then we must always as a community be looking to learn and better understand how we can dwell together in peace, seek the truth in love, and help one another. We must be alert to ways in which walls of distrust may start to grow among us, and be willing to let ourselves be a bit vulnerable as we work to clear misunderstandings and unspoken feelings that separate us. This is what our covenant of right relationships is all about. In some of the personal growth programs I'm aware of, this kind of focus and learning continues, not just over a full weekend of exercises and experiences, but perhaps over a number of such weekends, each seeking to deepen and reinforce intimacy and openness with those we are close to, a letting down of barriers and ways in which we keep ourselves hidden and getting past fears of being seen. We may hide in all kinds of ways, words, actions, always imagining what others may think about us and trying to make it okay. To break those habits requires some conscious choices around being more vulnerable and open to the possibility of discovering that others will love us more as we really are than as who we pretend to be. Elizabeth's reading spoke to this in the refrain of letting go of who we think we ought to be and embracing who we are. One way to embrace who we are is to accept and embrace who we are in a physical sense, our bodies. It can be both a metaphor for freeing our emotional and spiritual sense and being in direct experience of openness and vulnerability to stand naked in a room with a group of people that one has been getting to know for a period of time. And as with those who try nudity in other settings, many find that it is freeing and a fine way to be for recreation or relaxation. Many find that it is wonderful to literally be who we are in the physical world. Be who you are is a theme that has occurred in a number of sermons of UU ministers. One of the best known is Reverend Forrest Church, All Souls, New York City. Be who you are, he writes. Simply put, to be who you are is not to fake your existence. He writes that each of us is unique, with unique gifts and flaws. The world doesn't owe us a living. We owe the world a living, our very own. This may be a hard task, one that requires us to overcome long-held beliefs and things we were taught in childhood. We may have internalized messages like, why can't you be more like your brother, your sister, whoever? Maybe there were messages about what we ought to do and what we should be when we grow up. Sometime during adulthood, we may start to realize that we've gotten so good at hiding who we really are that we can't even see ourselves. When that moment occurs, it can be the beginning of a road toward wholeness, coming home to who we each really are and coming to really love that person. It's not a destination, but a continuing journey of discovery, of standing above our troubles and on our own 2 feet, standing metaphorically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, naked and not afraid. So may it be.